What up, world? See if anybody's up this late. Actually, let me pull this other shit out. Go bump this song one more again.
Do drugs just to concentrate and think. Wish that I could sleep, I never got a wink. Gotta work a double when I'm finished, I'ma stink. And my feet keep throbbing, I wish that I could rest. Wish I would've finished school and never should've quit. Wish I didn't blame it on my parents, just the parents of my father traumatizing. Wish he never would've left, that excuse getting old. So was doing drugs, reefer got me paranoid. So was doing bonds, but I still got $1 bill to my nose, snoring clear off a mirror. Man, I wish I had that gone, but once again I blow off cause I really wanna live. I just wanna hug and a kid for my girl, but she led on my bed, feel empty when I'm in it, and a minute passing by. When I'm gone, gotta hit the road. I be getting throwed, every city is a blur. I killed it on the stage, taking pictures with these girls at the words, but I really just be wishing they was her, and I wishing she believed me. Wish I didn't read these negative comments that everybody wanna leave underneath these songs that I put up on the internet. I'm finna let it bother me. A part of me just wishes they would leave me alone. My journey wasn't easy to get here. I wish they could see how far I came. I wish I had a street team, cheese for some t-shirts and CDs. I barely got $1 to my name. People thinking that I'm on my inbox, filling up with features, and I wish I could respond. My phone keep ringing, friends saying that I'm changing. When I finally get a minute to myself all alone, I'll be drunk. My alarm going off in the morning. I've been snorting all night. I wish that I could hit snooze. Got a song about the league. I wish that I was enthused, but apparently I gotta diss dudes to get views. Sick of sitting on the back burner with a lit fuse. They saying the name I turn, yeah, I'm sick of these music industry motherfuckers bullshitting. When the truth is ain't no rapper fucking with me, feeling like I'm getting used. That's another excuse. I wish that was them. I wish I had a tour bus, the car that I be in, and got no air conditioning. I'm wishing it was when I can't afford a shirt. I gotta wear this one again. Man, I wish someone would send a box of some free shit. I'm wishing that I had a bigger buzz. I've been trying so hard to make it happen with the rap, but for now I make it happen with the drawers that I was. I'm wishing while I'm walking on this low.
What up? What up?
And I'm wishing you were by my side.
Who's awake tonight?
My misery.
That shit is great. I gotta pull that back. What the fuck? You got sandals on? Is you kidding?
Shopping up my number two. So how do you go to sleep at night?
What the fuck? That motherfucker got sandals on? Is you kidding me? He really got the sandals with socks, flops with socks. Insomniacs only stream might be dead for tonight. We got no Insomniacs showing up tonight. Let's see. What is this? Never even heard this. Let's see what it is.
Got it. I got it all.
Alright, I could already tell this ain't my shit. Let's get out of this. Let's do some late night history. Late night, early morning history. We'll go over, let's see, I could do that for tonight. What could we do? Mayhem on the New York frontier. We'll do the staggering siege of Fort Stanwix. I know about that. Let's go watch.
On a hot afternoon in August of 1777. On a hot afternoon in August of 1777, the cannons of British Brigadier General Barry St. Leger opened.
So this would have been 1777. This would have been somewhat upstate New York, north of I want to say northwest of Albany.
Fire at Fort Stanwix. This marked the beginning of
Fort Stanwix. That would have been northwest of Albany, New York.
a siege that pitched a defiant American garrison against a formidable force of British-controlled troops and their Native American allies.
That would have been the Mohawk region, Valley region too, Mohawk Indians.
As the strongest Patriot stronghold in the Mohawk Valley, deep in the New York frontier, the fort was the Americans' final barrier against the westernmost pincer of a.
Yeah, okay, so you can kind of see that's northwest of Albany, New York right there. You got Saratoga right above Albany there. Got New York City down at the bottom, Long Island, all that. Newport, Boston. You can see everything from there.
British strategy designed to sever New England from the rest of
Well, I guess not everything, obviously, but you can see my house from there.
the colonies. The siege of Fort Stanwix became a contest of deceit and endurance, characterized by desperate attempts to rally support on the New York frontier, brutal Native American ambushes, and
Oh, that must be the ambush right there. Who was that on? That wasn't against Benedict Arnold. I think Arnold's troops made it. I don't think they were ambushed, but
an unorthodox use of
same type of battle.
psychological
That's
warfare.
that dude. What's his name?
This is how modern historiography tells the story
He was like a British Indian dude. He fought for the British.
of the staggering siege of Fort Stanwix.
Wow, that's the world back then. The Portuguese Empire, the Spanish Empire, the British Empire, the Ottoman Empire. The United States was that tiny area back in 1777. You got to think at one point the British Empire actually stretched bigger than any other empire in history.
By 1776, the American Revolutionary War was only 2 years old, and the Americans were already at risk of failure. The invasion of Quebec in 1775 had ended in disaster, and although the Americans forced the British to abandon Boston in March of 1776 after an 11-month siege, their victory was short-lived. In August, British forces under General William Howe returned in full strength, defeating the Americans at the Battle of Long Island and forcing them out of New York. With both Canada and the strategically vital port of New York firmly under British control, the prospects of the revolution looked bleak. As winter set in, British leadership was confident
Couldn't even imagine what these winters were like back then.
that 1777 would be the war's
Shit is rough now, man. I had to turn my heat up to 78 tonight just to warm this back room up enough. My whole house is surrounded by snow right now.
decisive year. Major General John Burgoyne, known as Gentleman Johnny, devised an ambitious strategy to crush the revolution by launching a campaign from Canada. His plan called for a three-pronged pincer movement designed to sever New England, which the British considered the heart of the rebellion, from the rest of the colonies, which the British believed harbored stronger loyalist sympathies. Burgoyne would personally lead the northern pincer, commanding over 11,000 troops, as they advanced south along the Hudson River. General Howe, leading the southern pincer, was expected to march.
So there's General Howe never made it to this battle, I'm pretty sure. He would have actually ended up, I think he went to Philly, if I remember correctly, in this battle. William Howe literally was supposed to come right up through the city I was born in and through the region on the Hudson River right there. If you could see the Hudson River there. And that's basically that bottom white line, the river along that, the arrow pointing up towards Albany there. And General Howe, I'm pretty sure, never made it. Ledger, I think, is the one that was supposed to have the big battle. Burgoyne, I think, gets stuck at Saratoga in this battle. I think
north from New York City and rendezvous with Burgoyne in Albany.
But yeah, I'm pretty sure William Howe never made it.
Meanwhile, a third force under Barry St. Letcher would incite an uprising on the frontier in what is now upstate New York.
Okay, so yeah, his plan was to go to like Oswego, New York, John Burgoyne, Gentleman Johnny, and start an uprising. So they basically think that they can get, Americans, New Yorkers that are sympathetic to the British to stand up with them and fight against their neighbors and shit, which is nuts that some of them actually did.
To divert as many American resources as possible from the main pincers along the Hudson. To achieve this, St. Letcher was to advance from the west through the Mohawk Valley, rallying loyalists and Native Americans, principally from the Iroquois Confederacy, before converging on Albany as well. If successful, this strategy would both strangle the revolution by leaving New England isolated and vulnerable, and convince settlers on the New York frontier, along with the powerful Iroquois Confederacy, to support the British cause. The fate of American independence was about to be decided.
So the Iroquois Confederacy here would have consisted of a bunch of different tribes in that exact region right there. Probably would have been I think there was 5 or 6 different tribes, but yeah, that's the Mohawk Valley region though.
Decided on the edge of the New York frontier. On the New York frontier, daily life was increasingly shaped by the growing conflict that was about to engulf the region.
Crazy to think just a few hundred years ago that's what was happening right there in New York.
Families and communities entered the Revolutionary era deeply.
People think of these as small towns now, let alone back then. This is crazy.
Divided. Some sided with the revolutionary cause, others remained loyal to the British crown, while many hoped to stay neutral. According to the military historian John Lozay,
I'm pretty sure only 4% or so of people actually even got involved in the Revolutionary War, as far as my knowledge goes. I could be off.
Later, the struggle along the Mohawk, as in other frontier regions, was less a traditional revolution and more a brutal civil war. Loyalists to the British crown and patriots, American revolutionaries.
Yeah, it's just basically what I was saying earlier. They needed loyalists, and then you had the New Americans.
Often came from the same families. They found themselves bitterly opposed.
So I think when he's saying they came from the same families, he means more like cousins and stuff like that. I mean, there was cases of brothers and shit even, but that was rare.
First as disagreeing neighbors, then arguing in courtrooms, and eventually fighting on the battlefield. A striking example of these divided loyalties is the case of Honyost Schuyler, a distant relative to the famous American general.
That's who it is, Honyost Schuyler.
General and politician Philip Schuyler, and kin to Nicholas Herkimer, Brigadier General
Herkimer, that's who it was he's related to. He was another famous general back then.
The Tryon County Militia, Honyost chose a different path. Adopting Iroquois manners and clothing, he aligned himself with the Mohawks, a Native American nation allied with the British, thus siding against the American revolutionaries. Eventually,
so basically by siding with this Indian faction, he was siding with the British over the Americans.
He was captured by Patriot forces in German flats and sentenced to hang.
Oh, that sucks.
In a twist of fate, his trial and sentencing were overseen by none other than his own relative, Brigadier General Nick.
Oh shit, that's who it is. Nicholas Herkimer was a general. Yeah, that's what I thought for America.
Nicholas Herkimer. But Hun Jost, seemingly destined for a greater fate, wasn't due to hang for a couple more weeks.
I'm pretty sure he never does get hung in this battle. I think he's the one who goes and I'm pretty sure he ends up warning the Indians and lying and saying like the troops are huge numbers because they like capture his family. I'm pretty
For
sure.
the time being, he was spared execution and left to languish in prison. The division along the frontier was further inflamed by British intervention. The British relied on local loyalists such as Sir John Johnson, a seasoned frontiersman and son of the more famous Sir William Johnson, to rally support for their cause in the Mohawk Valley. Like Hun Jost Schuyler, Johnson had adopted many skills, customs and weapons from the Mohawk people.
If anybody notices, you can see he's got like the knife around his neck. That's a scalping knife. Like, so yeah, I would say he does take on some customs from the Indians if that's supposed to be Sir John Johnson. He's got the tomahawk along with his British sword, but he's got the scalping knife around his neck too.
Obviously, by wearing a scalping knife around
Oh shit, he just said it too.
his neck and a tomahawk on his belt.
And he called out the tomahawk.
His efforts to recruit local support
Alright.
for the British cause in
with this history,
1776 proved effective, raising alarm among the revolutionaries. In response, New York's revolutionary government sought to arrest Sir John. However, before they could capture him, he escaped to Canada, where he joined forces with General Burgoyne.
So this would have been during the time when Kingston, New York would have been the capital in New York, not Albany at the time. So remember that too. They would have to come further south to hit the capital.
Drawing on his deep knowledge of the Mohawk
Not that the British didn't burn Kingston, New York down.
Valley, Sir John reinforced Burgoyne's plan to use the region as a key divisionary front, while the main British pincers advanced down the Hudson from the north and up from the south. With the strategy in place, the stage was set for the British campaign. The American revolutionaries recognized.
Oh shit, Ruben Sanchez in the house. What's up, Ruben? God bless, brother. We got a fellow Insomniac in the house. What's up, my guy? What's going on? I forgot to drop a link too. I should drop the link in case anybody wants to jump on tonight. It's late as hell. Just doing a little bit of history, old New York history.
That securing the New York frontier was essential to the success of their cause. The most effective way to achieve this was by rebuilding and garrisoning Fort Stanwix, allowing them to control and defend the strategically vital Oneida Carry. This key portage linked the Atlantic to the continent's interior and was a crucial artery for trade and military movement. Small boats called bateaux traveled up the Mohawk River before briefly being carried.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the route that we took up when we went to Fort Stanwix to resupply them during the Battle of Fort Stanwix, and I'm pretty sure they got stuck and had to run into the fort and all this other shit. Lost a couple people, but Lake Oneida would have been the way the British would have came in, and I'm pretty sure that they during this battle they dropped a whole bunch of like wood in Wood Creek to stop them actually coming through. That might be how it got its name. They dropped mad trees in that little area right there before Fort Stanwix to try to stop the British on their way there.
Overland.
We'll see if they go over that. Hey Sybil, good to see you. Thanks for being here. God bless.
Carry to Wood Creek, providing access to the Great Lakes and the vast interior of the continent. Though this route was not yet as significant as the Champlain-Hudson corridor, both American and British leaders understood that it had the potential to rival it in importance. Another important reason for the region's significance was that the land between the Upper Hudson and Lake Erie was home to the Iroquois Confederacy, the dominant nation.
Yeah, so basically they could try to use that to their advantage, that they could try to gain the, support of the Iroquois, and then that would be instant warriors on the ground. They could hand rifles too, and hopefully use them against the Americans in their mind.
Native power in the area.
Don't forget though, the Americans all along this other area below Albany, you had the Esopus Indians, you had tons of Indians all along this area too, that that weren't members of the Iroquois Confederation, that were bullied by the Iroquois before. You had Algonquins, you had all different types of people. So little different from the confederations that you had a little more north, in Montreal, Quebec. That was all also similar, but
The Confederacy, made up of 6 nations, were a significant military force deeply invested in the fur trade along the Mohawk River.
okay. So there, hang on. They just said the 6 nations. It was, like I said earlier, I
Nations.
thought it was 5, but it's actually 6. So they had the Seneca, the Cayuga, the Onondaga, the Oneida, and the Mohawks people. Those are the people who were in that area at the time. I can only say those names because I'm not too far from all that shit.
Were a significant military force deeply invested in the fur trade along the Mohawk River, making good relationships with them economically vital. While 3 out of the 6 nations had strong ties to the British, the Americans struggled to establish a foothold.
So 3 of the 6 nations already fucked with the British hard. I'm pretty sure because they were like Canada. They had a big alliance with them as well already. What happened in the back? What are you saying, Ruben? Maybe I'm confused. Oh, you're in the back. Oh, my bad, bro. Hold up. Oh, there you go, Ruben. You up? I got you here with me now or no?
No.
Yeah, you are. I hear you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. There I am. Yeah.
Your face ain't up, but you're up here with me.
Right. Yeah, it's weird, man.
Yeah,
Like my shit don't show up on a lot of people's stuff, man.
I hear you. That's all that matters. I hear you. What's going on, brother?
Word. Oh, chilling. I seen that you was on. I was like, oh, this looks interesting. What's up?
Yeah, just going over some old history shit. I'm bored as fuck, late at night, nothing to do, so figured I'd do a Insomniac stream for the people who ain't sleeping, right?
Right. So what is this? Some history of New York?
Yeah, this is 1777. It was a battle that happened in New York, yeah, during the Revolutionary War.
Oh, okay. Right on. Yeah, dude, I like shit like this, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially, like I said, sometimes you can't sleep and stuff, you know what I mean? Just kick back and watch some stuff.
Yep. Yeah, this is like the perfect type of shit for this type of this time of night too. So I'll throw something
Right.
like this on.
Only the Oneidas were actively assisting the rebels. Despite
So basically, the Oneidas were the one, or which is what ended up being the name of that city. Basically, that's where you see that tribe right there. Today, it's still called Oneida or whatever, or Oneida or whatever they were called.
Right.
But they were the ones who sided with the New Yorker, like the Americans. So, but 3 of those tribes sided with the not Canadians, the British. So
these challenges in 1777,
Right.
Fort Stanwix was gradually rebuilt under the command of Colonel Peter Gansford, strengthening the Patriot position in the Mohawk Valley. Meanwhile, conflicts along the frontier grew increasingly frequent and violent. In May of 1777, George Germain, the British Secretary of State for the colonies, ordered the governor of Quebec, Guy Carleton, to enlist the 6 nations to support the invasion of New York as part of Burgoyne's campaign. One of the key figures in bringing Native American support to the British cause was Joseph Brant, born Thayendanegea.
Yeah, so this dude was born a Native American, actually. He changed his name to Joseph Brant. He was kind of famous back then, but he became a soldier for the British and got a lot of the natives to fight for them too. So
Okay.
Brant, one of the most well-known Native American leaders of his
damn, they got him looking stupid like a white man in that picture, but he really wasn't.
Right.
I'm pretty sure he was straight native
For real.
and grew up and then took a Christian name, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
time, had met both King George III and George Washington. Though he was not born into a hereditary leadership role within the Iroquois Confederacy, he rose to prominence through his education, military skills, and close ties to British officials. By late May of 1777, Brant had launched a campaign of intimidation and raids in the Mohawk Valley, beginning with an attack on Unadilla. There, he forced anyone unwilling to declare loyalty to the British out of their homes and confiscated their belongings. Fear spread rapidly.
Yeah, I'm sure dudes were not feeling that in New York, not even back in 1777.
Throughout the Mohawk Valley.
Hell.
You could see all the little teepees everywhere. There was still a lot of natives too, so you got to think these natives came from up north and were also probably plundering the local natives as well.
Right.
That's how they used to do it, at least back then in general. I'm not sure that they were definitely, but I mean, most of the local natives were like with us or with the Americans, at least at the time. So,
Right.
Valley
What
as he
what tribe
repeated the
is this
process.
that they're going against right now?
would you say, Ruben?
What tribe are they going against?
Oh, it's basically the Mohawk Valley tribes
Okay.
are
Yeah.
lining
I
up.
thought,
Most of them lined up with the British, so it's them fighting against the frontiersmen, like the New Yorkers, the Americans, the
right.
revolutionary, the rebels, basically you would call them at the time, because they were rebels to King George the Third.
Right. I wonder if this is like
Another
something similar to like that Last of the Mohicans movie and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. Seriously though, that is what this was basically during those
Oh
times.
yeah, that's what
When
I'm
that
talking
movie
about.
was made, Last of the Mohicans or whatever, was based on like these times. Yeah, for sure.
That's what I'm talking
settlements.
Back when they had the rifles and all that shit. Yeah, that was when
about. Yeah,
the British armed them all and shit. Yeah.
yeah, because
Strength
homeboy was a Mohawk. The bad dude, I can't remember his name. Was Mohawk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was all types of natives in this area. Even the area I live in, it's like the Esopus Creek down there, and they had those natives, and then down in Jersey, they had the Lenape people, and all types of different natives all over throughout this region. So some of them
Right.
still are around, but not many.
How is their like their persona, like their character? You know what I mean, do they, fall into that not that prejudice? What is that called? The stereotypical.
Like the ones up north do. The ones like in like upstate New York, like they really do run casinos and shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Live on the
Yeah,
reservation
yeah.
and shit. But
Where I stay in, like I live in San Bernardino County, and they have a casino uh just like 30 minutes away from 35 minutes away from me. And
mhm.
they the same thing. I mean, yeah, they be running that stuff.
Yeah, yeah, they do the like all the cigarettes and shit like that. You know, they got their own little hustles. But I'm sure a lot of them probably still live on the reservation, poor, getting that little check every month, or not poor, you know what I mean, though, like
Right?
because a lot of them suffer from alcohol abuse and other shit in them places. But
It's fucked up, huh?
yeah, for sure. But that's what happens when you're a defeated people, though, Ruben. You know what I mean? When you're when you're like kicked out of a spot and you move on, you might, or it might be different, but when you're like defeated and you try to settle the same land still,
Mm-hmm.
you it gets down on your spirit. You see it everywhere where it happens in the world.
Yeah, we lose our culture. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that too.
There are to teach people the old traditions and shit like that. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. That's why you don't even see it as much. Like even like the Jewish people who moved on like nomadically for a long time and then resettled. You don't even see it as much in them as you do in like peoples that get like conquered and stay in the area.
Right, right,
Like the German people, look how docile the German people have become today.
right. No shit, huh? Ain't that the
Yeah,
truth?
I mean, that's the way I see it, at least. Like,
It's a
Strengthening
trip.
British
You know what I mean? Like
influence in the
I
region.
think like the natives, you know, when the Europeans came over and shit, you know what I mean, wanted to take shit over. Natives was like, fuck that, even though they knew they were outnumbered and overpowered and shit like that. But they didn't, they had heart, you know what I'm saying?
well, a
They
lot
had
of
metal.
them, it wasn't even that. Half of them sided with the Europeans because they were the smaller tribes who were already being bullied by the bigger tribes
Mhm.
for lifetime. You know what I'm saying? But so when Europeans showed up and were like, "Oh yeah, we'll trade you guns uh and coalition with you," like a lot of natives were cool with that and were down with it. But a lot of the stories, if you read like the whole thing, like the dying from like diseases on blankets and shit like that, like the
Yeah.
smallpox and stuff, like that was all, they didn't even know how smallpox was transmitted back then. Like they didn't do that shit on purpose. It was no genius thing done by the Europeans. They literally just tried to help out by giving blankets because it was like a Christian missionaries, and they gave them diseases that they were had. They didn't even know they could do that.
Right.
So a lot of it's like twisted history, but of course there was atrocities on both sides for sure. People getting scalped, and then there's, you know, whole tribes getting slaughtered or moved into fucking these reservations and shit, you know.
Right, right. Well, that, you know, Europeans were um, over hunting, you know what I mean? The buffalo, taking,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
know,
the buffalo and shit off the trains and everything. That
yeah,
changed
and
everything towards the 1800s. Yeah, for sure.
right. And then you got the railroad coming in, so then it took me to shit. So it's like, what
Yeah,
the fuck is going on?
yeah. This was still early on, 1777, basically. Like, you
Oh
still had
yeah.
the whole West was untouched almost. Like,
I wonder what it would have looked like if the Europeans never came. It would have probably been a trip.
probably still look like national park everywhere, and be
Yeah.
warring nomads still scalping each other everywhere and shit. Probably would be though,
Right.
for real, you know. And Mexico would probably be like the same if they'd still have Aztecs and shit if the Spanish didn't show up, you know.
Yeah, yeah. Conquistadors and shit.
Yeah.
In an increasingly desperate attempt to keep the Iroquois neutral and deter Brand's raids, the Americans dispatched an expedition under General Nicholas Herkimer of the Tryon County Militia to negotiate with Brand near Unadilla. When Herkimer arrived, Brand bluntly advised him to turn back. To reinforce the warning, 500 of his warriors emerged from the woods, yelling and firing their muskets into the air. A clear display of force meant to show that they could have annihilated the American force had they wished. Perhaps the only reason.
Okay, so Joseph Brant knew Nicholas Herkimer, I think, so that's why they could have killed them, but they just let them. They basically laid in a trap, but they didn't know this dude was gonna show up, I think, is what happened during this part.
They didn't.
Oh,
Was
okay,
the
so
personal history between Brandt and Herkimer.
just
Once neighbors,
like-
the two men found themselves on opposite
Yeah, see, they were once neighbors. Now they're finding themselves on opposite sides of the battle. That's what happened. So he basically they threw lick shots off, letting them know how many of them were there, so that they would flee on purpose.
sides of a brutal and escalating war. The American attempts to sway the Iroquois in their favor remained largely fruitless. Soon after, more than 1,000 Mohawk warriors, promised rich rewards for American scalps, took to the warpath for the British side. In June, Burgoyne assembled his men to move down the Hudson. At the same time, Barry St. Leger was put in charge of leading the westernmost pincer. He began moving down the St. Lawrence River to.
So that's like super far north up there, the St. Lawrence River. Ruben, that comes from like literally Canada into New York. So you can see
no
Quebec,
shit.
Montreal right there.
Yeah.
And then it dumps out into like Lake Ontario or some shit. Yeah, I've been up there before, like snow. What is it, like four-wheeling and shit, and snowmobiling in the fucking snow up there. It's crazy. It snows like crazy up there by the St. Lawrence River. My buddy got a fucking DWI up there and shit. They don't play them fucking upstate troopers. It's literally like no man's land in the middle of nowhere though up there.
Lake Ontario, where several hundred Native Americans joined the expedition. At Oswego, they linked up with more Native Americans under Brandt. Sir John Johnson was also among his men. Meanwhile, the defenders of Fort Stanwix were hastily finishing their fortifications. The fort featured formidable defenses, with 4 well-built bastions of earth several meters wide, making the fortress fairly resistant to cannon fire.
I was just gonna say, yeah, if it's 4 meters wide, that shit can take cannon fire too. So I'm pretty sure they took a bunch of cannon fire at that fort during this battle. But I'm pretty sure the British didn't bring. No, my bad. Go ahead, Ruben.
I was saying, and they got the on the top of the hill. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for the strategicness of it, yeah, the placement. But then they had what happened, I'm pretty sure the British didn't bring big enough cannons to get through their shit.
Right.
You know, they had different size cannons back then and everything. But yeah, so they was smart to do that, to have the 4 feet thick or whatever it was.
A wide ditch and a low wall on the outer edge, known as the covered way, provided additional protection for the fort and gave the defenders a forward position to defend. You can actually visit the reconstructed fort today and experience history firsthand, whether you're heading to Fort Stanwix.
That's pretty dope.
That's cool.
Yeah, you can see the fort. That's how it was built literally back then. That's how it would have looked.
That's a trip.
All them little cutouts for cannons, and it's bugged out.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's super thick. Them walls, though, you could see how thick they were.
Right, and they even built the outside fence and shit, so they had to get over that before they,
Yeah, exactly. Like the people before, and they got the gate, it looks like, or whatever, that goes up to the front, but there's still a wall and a door there too.
Right.
We're halfway around the world. I highly recommend today's sponsor, Saley eSIM. They offer fast, reliable internet almost anywhere you go, at prices that are hard to beat. Offers 24/7 chance and ensure the supply. Sandroman was on the way, with several small boats carrying powder, food, and ammunition.
Yeah, so that was the Americans. The rebels had shit on its way coming up the Mohawk River. And then if you could see off to the left there, Wood Creek.
Oh, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they named that Wood Creek because the Americans flooded that whole creek up with trees to clog it so the British couldn't come in that way.
Right. Well, that's fucking
during this battle. We'll find out, but I think that's what they did for this battle.
Making their way up the Mohawk River. To slow the British advance and ensure the supplies would arrive before the enemy, the Americans felled trees into Wood Creek.
Yeah, see, I was right. Yeah. So
Good call, man.
I think that's why they called it that, though, Wood Creek. That's what I'm saying, is because they did that. They dropped all them trees in there to stop the British back in the day. Yeah.
Rendering it impassable for boats. This forced the British to clear an alternate route by land around Oneida Lake, significantly delaying their process. While the main British force was busy clearing the road and creek to transport their artillery and troops, Native American allies formed an advance guard to harass the Americans and prevent further supplies from reaching the fort. On Sunday, the 27th of July, 3 young girls ventured outside Fort Stanwix to pick raspberries.
Oh, this is fucked up. This is the first deaths. This is, they killed, I think it was 1 or 2 young girls, like 8 or 10-year-old girls who were out getting like blueberries or something. And scalped them or some shit. This is the start of the battle. Yeah.
Lying in wait, native scouts attacked when the girls had strayed far enough from safety.
Yeah, see, it was 3 little girls. They got far enough.
2 were shot and scalped on the spot, while the 3rd was wounded but managed to escape.
Okay, the 3rd made it back. That's how they found out about it.
The brutal attack sent a wave of terror through the fort, prompting Colonel Peter Gansford to withdraw all civilians and workers from outside the defenses. Shortly after, the race for Fort Stanwix came to a head. The supply-laden boats arrived just as St. Leger's advance party closed in. The 4 boats successfully unloaded their cargo, which was quickly brought inside the fort.
So yeah, we showed up like just in time with the shit that they needed for inside for this battle.
Right.
But, I think like they go to leave. Those are natives, like our native. I'm pretty sure it was our native, like partners or whatever
Allies?
that rolled. Yeah, allies that rolled up and ran in. But I think when they tried to leave, they got caught and got stuck here or some shit.
But as the garrison rushed to man its posts, the boatmen who had returned to their vessels came under sudden attack. Musket fire and arrows rained down as they were chased from the river back to the fort. Despite the onslaught, most of the men managed to reach safety, though 2 were wounded, 1 was captured, and 1 went missing.
So they lost a couple of their men right there too, right away. So basically the British started out killing kids and allies right away.
Right.
St. Leger immediately set to work besieging Fort Stanwix. However, his efforts were hindered by a manpower shortage. Many of his troops were still busy clearing Wood Creek and the nearby road to transport artillery. Meanwhile, the American defenders scrambled to use what little time remained before they were completely cut off. They attempted to gather cattle, hay, and other supplies from the surrounding buildings, but their efforts were constantly disrupted by relentless Native American attacks and sniper fire from concealed positions. That same day, the 3rd of August, Brigadier General Nicholas Herkimer was already leading a double column of about 800 men marching to relieve the fort.
Alright, so it was Herkimer that was coming up the port with like 800 men. I'm pretty sure he's the one who gets the idea to like lie about having like thousands of men or something like that to try to scare away half of the Indians. Because I'm pretty sure that's what happens during this battle. That's how we won it, is like by lying and saying that our numbers were bigger than they were. And then it scared away like half the natives or something.
However, his movements did not go unnoticed. Joseph Brandt's older sister, Molly Brandt, had discovered the American relief force's approach a few days prior and swiftly sent a warning to St. Leger. Her message reached the British commander on the 3rd of August, and he quickly gathered his Native American war chiefs, Joseph Brandt, Sir John Johnson, and Colonel Butler, to discuss their next move. St. Leger's line was already stretched thin, and he couldn't afford to send men away to fight a relief force, because this would make his besieging force vulnerable to a sortie by the garrison. However, with limited options, and on the advice of his subordinates, he decided to ambush the Americans before they reached the siege lines. A ravine near the village of Oriskany was chosen as the site for the ambuscade. The stage was set.
So this would have been like real woodsy too back then, like a ravine, like he's saying. This would have really been like a ravine in the middle of a forest in New York.
Right.
Like this was literally all forest, so
For a decisive clash.
so they had a battle there before they even made
On the
it.
morning of the 6th of August, the men of Tryon County Militia marched toward a site roughly 6 miles from Fort Stanwix.
I think like Benedict Arnold shows up in this battle, I'm pretty sure. And like saves the
for
day
real?
or some shit. Even though he becomes a super traitor later on in the war.
Where the road crossed a deep, steep-banked ravine. Unbeknownst to them, a British Iroquois force lay in wait, carefully prepared for an ambush. British light infantry positioned themselves to the west.
Yeah, of course. The British positioned themselves all the way at the end and let the natives fight it out first because they don't want to lose none of their fucking people, scumbags.
Right?
They always would do that shit. That's like the Romans. They would always send out, the
Yeah.
other first.
While Native American warriors formed a rough,
If you're paying, I guess that makes sense. So if you're paying these people per scalp or whatever, you might as well send out the people that you're paying rather than your own kin or whatever, I guess.
Right.
off circle along the ravine's edge, intentionally leaving the eastern side open to lure Herkimer's men deeper into the trap. Their plan was simple, yet devastating. Once the entire American column was fully inside the ravine, the British infantry would spring the trap and halt the Americans' advance with a thunderous volley from their concealed position, while the native warriors would attack from the side and close in from behind, sealing off any escape. When the American column cautiously entered the ravine, both the Iroquois and the British saw former neighbors, friends and relatives march into their trap. The Mohawks saw the Oneida, also part of the Six Nations of the Iroquois Confederacy.
Yeah, so that was basically the Mohawks' neighbors or the Oneida. It's like they're the tribe of their neighbors, basically, they're watching. So not only are the American troops that are with the British or whatever
right, so
seeing their neighbors, but the natives are seeing their neighbors too on top of it.
On the enemy side, while the British soldiers recognized men they knew from their lives on the frontier, including former friends and neighbors, many of whom they knew by name. They all were about to become their targets. However, once the first 3 Patriot battalions were in the ravine, the British Iroquois plan quickly went awry. As the American vanguard crossed a small stream, they halted to fill their canteens, still unaware of the ambush ahead. Seeing the Americans so vulnerable was an irresistible temptation for some of the more impatient and inexperienced Native American warriors, who prematurely launched an attack. A deadly musket volley ripped through the advance guard, and before the survivors could react, the warriors charged in with spears, tomahawks, and war clubs. Realizing the trap had been sprung too soon, the British and Iroquois forces hastily opened fire too. Despite the ambush not going exactly as planned, the opening volley was devastating, especially for the American officers. The survivors scrambled to form defensive lines and return fire, but the thick gun smoke further obscured the hidden attackers, and the first volley yielded little success. When the Americans reloaded their muskets, seasoned Iroquois warriors took advantage of their vulnerability and rushed ahead in swift melee assaults. The warriors who had prematurely attacked the vanguard were now using hit-and-run tactics, dashing along the American line, weaving between the opposing forces. Amid this chaos, the British had a hard time distinguishing friend from foe.
Oh shit, so they got caught in their own bullshit running in there. Now they're caught between the Americans and their own people getting shot.
Yeah, because they fucking rushed it.
Yeah, they fucked up. Well, they're not used to like fighting in formation or whatever. They're used to just, rolling as a team and invading other teepees and shit like that. But
Right.
they got the guns laying in wait, And that was a new thing anyway in the Revolutionary War. Before that, these fucking crazy Europeans used to literally just line up in huge fields against each other and shit.
Yeah, just one across them and the other, huh?
Crazy, yeah. They used to literally, it was like rules of engagement in Europe and shit, where they would literally just line up on fields and battle each other, right from back in the day when it was swords up until the day when it was guns and shit.
Right. I would rather fucking go with swords than like guns. Hell
Yeah,
no.
right. You would think that, but you're probably more likely to live from a fucking even a mullet or whatever one of them giant ass bullets back then than you were to live from a sword.
That's true.
And friendly fire cost many native warriors and even a couple of war chiefs their lives. As the battle raged, the 3 leading American battalions were slowly encircled, while the 4th, still outside the ravine, had yet to engage. Sensing an opportunity, Joseph Brand led his warriors against the American supply wagons, effectively cutting the force in 2. Panic seized the men of the unengaged battalion, but its commander, Colonel Vischer, managed to rally his men and establish a defensive perimeter. Meanwhile, the brigade's main body fought fiercely while forming a makeshift defensive line as well. The Oneida warriors in the 4th Battalion, who were further to the end of the ravine, eventually broke through to General Herkimer, and together they pushed away from the road to a more defensible terrain on higher ground. There, the Americans paired up and took cover behind trees, one man firing while the other reloaded, making it harder for the Iroquois warriors to overwhelm them in melee combat. As Herkimer rode along the lines encouraging his men, a musket ball struck his leg, mortally wounding him. Still, he refused to be carried off the field. Propped against his saddle, smoking his pipe,
Damn, he was mortally wounded, like in the leg. He's definitely gonna die from some shit like that. A musket ball to the leg would suck, bro.
continued to direct his troops.
He said he was smoking his pipe.
What'd you say?
They said he was just sitting there smoking his pipe.
Yeah, what else was he supposed to do? That's what I mean. At that point, I'd be sitting there smoking too, like, yo, fuck it. Give me a Newport. Just
Right, yeah. Get this last hit in.
Only an unexpected rainstorm brought a brief pause to the battle. For several hours, both sides hunkered down, trying to keep their powder dry. By noon, the rain had subsided, and the violence resumed. The battlefield had developed into chaos. Volleys were exchanged, small groups of warriors and militiamen advanced and fell back, and as ammunition dwindled, merciless melee took over. Iroquois warriors, once allies, clashed in brutal hand-to-hand combat, their tomahawks splitting the skulls of men they had once stood beside, while former frontier neighbors bludgeoned each other with clubbed muskets and drove bayonets into the flesh of old friends.
Oh shit, what up, Sancho?
What's up? They said even it's like the little rain, fucking, they had to stop firing because they had to
4 hours or something.
Yeah, keep their.
Back then they didn't have like bullets like we have now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like in a casing or whatever, they had to literally keep their powder dry and all that.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
That's wild, man. I think about that shit. Like, really? You just stop firing right there?
You might as well wait, you know what I mean, rather than just battle it out with hatchets and butts of guns, you know?
Yeah. Sancho
a grim testament to the savagery of the Revolutionary War. In the thicket of clashing weapons, distant campfire echoed from Fort Stanwix at around 2 p.m. The Americans, hearing the booming shots amid the screams of battle, took it as a sign that the garrison was launching a sortie in their support. With renewed hope, Fisher's battalion finally broke through to the brigade's main body. The garrison of Fort Stanwix did indeed launch a sortie, not to directly aid Herkimer's men at Oriskany.
The Battle of Fort Stanwix. It's like 1777 battle during the Revolutionary War in New York, bro. This is like along the Mohawk Valley region. Iroquois Indians fought with the British. Three tribes fought with the British, and one fought with the Americans during the Revolutionary War.
Like picture Last of the Mohicans type thing.
Yeah, pretty much dead on, yeah.
But to strike at St. Leger's camp. The American forces stormed the British encampment, destroying buildings and making off with valuable supplies, including clothing, cattle, blankets, and provisions. Though the raid did not decisively alter the military situation in the ravine near Oriskany.
Yeah, Sancho, this is before America moved west, really. This is 13 colonies and shit. You know, this is back Boston, New York, all them areas, Virginia.
It further unsettled the Iroquois warriors, who had already suffered heavy casualties during the prolonged fighting. The battle had ground to a brutal stalemate, with little left to gain. More significantly, the loss of many respected Iroquois chiefs, some to friendly fire, left their warriors demoralized and hesitant to continue. Because they also feared potential American reinforcements, their resolve began to wane. By 3 p.m., 5 grueling hours after the ambush had begun, the battle finally ended. Of the 800 Americans who had marched into the ravine, only about 150 emerged unscathed.
That's a crazy number. 800 went in, only 150 came out without being wounded or dead.
Right? And a lot were fucking friendly fire.
Yeah. That leaves 650. A lot of the natives ended up killing each other and shit through friendly fire when they were running across and all. Remember earlier in the battle, they kept running across the battlefield like nut jobs.
Yeah.
They probably
they're adrenaline fucking spiked. They didn't know that. They had some ayahuasca or some shit.
It's what's in the peace pipe or something before that battle. They had the neck plate back then. They would have been really jumping the fucking gun.
Hell yeah.
The British side suffered over 200 casualties, most of them Iroquois warriors. To make matters worse, when the battered British and Iroquois forces finally returned to their camp, they found their provisions looted, their blankets gone, and their shelters destroyed. British and native morale was at an all-time low.
That was slick.
So I think they'll probably go on to talk about the part I was talking about, the way like we won this battle, like it was a psychological battle, like we sent a dude who was captured by us out there to like lie and say we had like crazy amounts of soldiers on the way there or some shit to get half of the natives to run away. Yeah, back when men rarely made it to 40, said Sancho. Yeah, for sure. During this time in Ireland, men lived to be an average of 18, Sancho.
No shit.
Yeah, the average man died by 18 years old in Ireland in 1777 or whatever.
That's wild.
Despite the setback in the Battle of Oriskany, the British cannons finally opened fire on Fort Stanwix on the 8th of August. The defenders quickly returned fire, but neither cannonade had much effect. The fort's thick walls were specially designed to withstand such bombardments, and the British had failed to bring heavy artillery. They only had 2 6-pound cannons, 2 3-pound mortars, and 4 Coehorn mortars, which were insufficient to breach the fort's formidable defenses.
So that's kind of like what I was talking about earlier, Ruben. They didn't bring big enough cannons with them. Yeah, remember we saw how big those things really are in real life. Remember how big, like those walls are huge.
However, St. Leger, recognizing the flaws in his initial approach, devised a new strategy to reduce the fort. In letters to Burgoyne, he described how he converted his artillery into howitzers, versatile weapons that fall between a cannon and a mortar. They could shoot at various angles and fire either directly at a target or high into the air to drop explosive shells and incendiary materials onto defenders from above. However, for this tactic to be effective, the makeshift howitzers needed to be moved closer to the fort, as their small chambers could not hold enough powder for long-range shots. Once in range, the plan was to target the fort's magazines, hoping that a sustained bombardment would cause them to explode. To approach the fort without leaving themselves open to enemy fire, St. Leger's men began digging a sepp, a zigzagging trench designed to protect them from direct cannon fire. As the
Damn, that's the type of shit they really had to do back then in the battle to siege a place like that.
Right.
You got to think once it
Zigzag.
wasn't just arrows anymore that dudes are firing. Like dudes really had to find a way to get to a place like that that's all fortified and shit. They're not just shooting arrows no more. They got cannons, guns.
And they had to dig a fucking zigzag trench to get fucking
Yeah.
close.
Or like you look at like World War I, even like all that trench warfare shit is crazy, bro.
Right. You see how deep those trenches are and shit too? You know what I'm saying? Damn.
That's what I mean. Like that's how it was in World War I too. Like they were crazy deep. And then in Vietnam, they were literally fucking underground and shit. That's when it was mostly like our Hispanic soldiers who fought the underground battles, like the engineers. It was a lot of Puerto Rican guys and Mexican Americans. So
They were small. You know
yeah, they were the only ones small enough to fit down there, bro. That's who ended up going down there mostly. It was crazy. But because those fucking Vietnamese dudes were mad little, but they had like these crazy tunnels and shit underground, like 30 feet underground. They had whole like bunkers.
Did you know that they had like a whole base under a U.S. base for like a long ass time? They didn't even know that. Neither one of them knew that.
A U.S. base under where?
They had it had a Vietnamese base was under a U.S. base.
Oh shit! Yeah, I believe it. I mean, it was under all over the place, and they were using all the hookers and shit, and everybody else, the drug weed dealers and dope dealers as like informants to tell them where the troops were moving and all that shit. So like, even the people we thought were our allies there were selling us out. But
Sepp inched forward.
And I think Vietnam was the first time we had jungle warfare. It's the first time we entered jungle warfare.
Yeah.
Actually, it was kind of Korea, but like real jungle warfare.
Yeah, because Korea was a lot of bombing and shit more than like actually hitting the ground.
Right.
Men worked carefully to stay out of sight of the fort's guns. At the same time, they began digging a mine to undermine one of the fort's bastions, hoping to bring it down through a controlled collapse. As the situation at Fort Stanwix became increasingly tense.
Damn, that's crazy. So they did some shit almost like I was just talking about.
Yeah.
They did crazy underground. They were planning on blowing it up though.
God dang.
This obviously didn't pan out because the Americans won this one.
The Americans found themselves also retreating in the face of Burgoyne's main advance down the Hudson River. General Philip Schuyler had pulled back to Stillwater, struggling to reorganize his forces into a cohesive unit capable of repelling the British invasion. However, although under pressure, he did not neglect his western flank. On the 13th of August, Schuyler sent Major General Benedict Arnold to relieve Fort Stanwix. Arnold gathered nearly 1,000 men, including militia from...
So yeah, it was Benedict Arnold, the dude who later betrays America.
Right.
He was like an American hero for this, basically, for this battle at the time, after. Yeah, now we could fly unmanned aircraft and drop some shit on people. Yeah, Sancho.
Tryon County as he traveled from Stillwater to Albany and Fort Dayton. With such a force, Arnold could have attacked St.
So they're still all like north of the capital, because at the time Albany wasn't even the capital in New York. It would have been Kingston, New York, which is south of Albany, like in between New York City and Albany.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah.
Is that where stand-up guy stays? Kingston, New York?
What's that?
Is that where I think stand-up guy stays? Kingston, New York or some shit?
Where what happened?
Is there still a Kingston, New York?
Oh yeah, it's still there. But it was
Okay.
burned down by the British back in the day during these wars. But yeah, it was originally the first capital in New York.
Oh, all right. And now it's Albany still?
Now it's Albany. Yeah, it's been Albany since.
Letcher directly, who commanded around 1,600 men at the
So that was like just north of Albany, right there is Schenectady, and then that you see where they're heading towards this.
Oh yeah, okay.
time.
Yes.
However, for some reason, Arnold had
And then a little further north up there, that's Saratoga. So that's like 3 hours away from me, 4 hours away from me, Saratoga, north of me.
Oh no shit.
So that's like where the racetracks are and shit like that, the horse racing.
Oh fuck.
hesitated. As he approached Fort Dayton, an unexpected opportunity emerged: the arrival of a prisoner. Honyost Schuyler re-entered the stage. As a white man dressed as a Mohawk and sentenced to death, Honyost, often described as a lunatic, madman, or eccentric fanatic, struck Arnold as someone who might be able to help him. Honyost's mother and brother, pleading for his innocence, arrived just in time, and it was revealed to Arnold that Honyost had a spiritual connection valued by the Mohawks, giving him significant influence over them. Arnold promised to free Honyost if he could infiltrate St. Letcher's camp and convince the native warriors that Arnold's forces were much larger than they actually were. To ensure Honyost's cooperation, Arnold kept his family as hostages until the mission was complete. To lend credibility to Honyost's story, Arnold's men shot through his clothing and arranged for an Oneida warrior to follow him at a distance and confirm the tale. Honyost entered St. Letcher's camp without difficulty and warned the natives that they were in serious danger. When asked about the size of Arnold's forces, Honyost ominously pointed to the leaves on a nearby tree. The Oneida warrior arrived shortly after, confirming his story by claiming that a talking bird had revealed that an immense enemy force was closing in on the siege camp. This caused the native warriors to begin abandoning the siege. With little progress made, no spoil.
So between the one dude dressed up like an Indian showing up and telling him like where as many as the leaves on a tree, and another Indian showing up and telling these dudes, yo, you better bounce because there's thousands of these dudes coming. Like they
Right.
Shit. Fuck it. I mean, they should though. Really, I mean, they were getting paid to be there, right?
Yeah.
It's not like they're the British. Like they were mandated to be there by their governor or somebody. You know, these motherfuckers were just down for the how many scalps they get paid on. They're not trying to die out there.
Exactly.
He had obtained. Many
I mean, a lot of them would have died if they stayed. There was another 1,000 men coming with guns still, even if it wasn't 5,000 or 10.
of their possessions taken during sorties, and heavy losses at Oriskany, the warriors' morale had all but evaporated. Whether it was Honyost's tale or simply pragmatism, more than 200 warriors abandoned the siege before St. Letcher could even convene a council of war. A letter from Daniel Klaus, the superintendent of Indian Affairs.
Hey, I'm gonna go grab something to eat, bro. I'm gonna go grab something to eat, and
you're good, bro.
I'm gonna drop myself down so this way.
You're good, brother.
All right, cool.
All right.
I'll be back. Brown.
Confirms that St. Letcher also expected American reinforcements of about 1,000 to 2,000 men with field pieces. Along with the deserting native warriors, this bad news led St. Letcher to retreat to Oswego and then to Sonderoga. Meanwhile, Arnold, unaware of the unfolding developments, was still on his way to Fort Stanwix when he received word of St. Lecher's withdrawal. He sent a detachment to pursue St. Lecher toward Oneida Lake, but redirected the rest of his forces to rejoin the American army at Saratoga. St. Lecher's arrival at Fort Ticonderoga on the 27th of September came too late to support Burgoyne effectively. By then, the British army had advanced within 24 kilometers of Albany, but Burgoyne's position was becoming untenable. With his western flank exposed and St. Lecher's retreat, Burgoyne also found himself short of about 1,000 men. At the same time, General William Howe's southern pincer never materialized, due to miscommunication with London. Instead, Howe had redirected his forces to capture Philadelphia, leaving Burgoyne isolated.
Yeah, so General Howe had gone to Philadelphia, so we lucked out, because if Howe would have came north, he would have went through, everywhere through upstate New York, from New York City all the way up the Hudson River to Albany, and then he would have moved right on his way over to the fort. So thank God William Howe decided to go to Philly at the time, but, well, not thank God for Philly, but...
With few options left, Burgoyne chose to fight his way out, which led to the battles of Saratoga. On the 19th of September at Freeman's Farm, Burgoyne won a Pyrrhic victory, but on the 7th of October at Bemis Heights, he suffered a decisive defeat, resulting in the surrender of his entire army to General Gates on the 17th of October. This victory persuaded France to enter the war as an ally of the American forces.
So that's what got France to back us right there, was that victory at Saratoga right after this battle,
which would decisively alter the trajectory of the conflict.
When France started to help arm us and everything, it was game over for the British.
After the surrender, Burgoyne blamed the failure of his campaign on St. Lecher's inability.
Yeah, New York City was long established, Sancho. It was, I think the Dutch even were there before the English even, setting up a lot of these areas in New England and New York. I know places just north of New York City were all Dutch and stuff like that back then, like the 1600s I'm talking. So this is by 1777. So yeah, New York City was definitely there. They had taken New York City, the British, by this point. They had come in through Long Island in 1777. By then they had taken New York City, yeah, sadly. But they lose it later on.
Penetrate the Mohawk Valley, and the lack of sufficient loyalist support. He believed that a well-timed loyalist uprising in upstate New York could have diverted enough American resources to allow either his advance or St. Lecher's to succeed. In an analysis following his defeat, Burgoyne also noted that the failure of General Howe to support him allowed Washington to redirect resources from New York City to relieve Fort Stanwix and assist at Saratoga. Meant to be the decisive year in quelling the American Revolution, 1777 turned out to be a...
Yeah, okay, so 1624, okay. And I don't remember exactly who did found New York City, if it was the Dutch or the English, but it was one of them. And yeah, it was way back, and then, obviously became American at some point.
Pivotal year for the Americans instead. We hope you've enjoyed our telling of this epic siege. For more gripping stories about this period...
He did a pretty good job on that video, though. I'll have to give that a subscribe, that channel. That was a pretty good video. Yeah, I just got a nice little gift from the West Coast today. Got one a couple days ago, too. Got some sour cookies, some LA Pop Rocks, some black cherry runts, some mint chocolate chip, some more permanent marker. Yo, is anybody here? That was weird, bro. My internet went out and came back. What's up, MRH? Are you here? I don't know if you popped in before and left, but I'm back. I don't know what the hell was going on with my internet. It likes to do this early in the morning where it pops off for 5 minutes. Probably a ping from the internet company. I'll chill out and wait for a couple people to come back. Let me throw my link back up and pin it this time. Anybody who's awake. Bane, what up, brother? I had a live stream going, little history, and yeah, my internet went out. I just popped back in. That's what happened. I had Ruben up here with me. It's late as fuck at night, Bane. I only got 150 something subs right now, so I just started my channel in like October, so I had like 1 or 2 weed videos before that. How you doing, Bane? Time is it where you are? Like fucking 7:30 in the morning or 8 in the morning almost? All right, we just finished that. I'm gonna go. I got a whole show planned for. I'm gonna have to hold out on that though. That was planned for Monday, but it was a real bad day to stream, so I'm gonna do it a different day. Had to watch him Bane. Now it looks like I got 1. I don't know if anybody's back or what happened, but I had a few people here. It was me, Sancho, and Ruben for a little while, and then MRH popped in. I don't know who's left, if I just got Bane now or... I did a whole live, though, with a bunch of it with Ruben, doing history of a battle, so... I was getting ready to end it soon, but my internet shut off on me for a minute. Alright, I guess there ain't really that many Insomniacs out there tonight anyway, but it's late as fuck, 3:44. Good night, everybody. Like I always say, God bless. Christ is King. Be safe. Be well.